Hi, it's Niall Boylan. Not long to go now till the elections, and as you know, I'm running as an EU candidate for the Dublin constituency. But thank you so much to everybody who's been so kind and so wonderful in our wonderful city of Dublin when we were out on the campaign trail and canvassing over the last few weeks. We've had so many eyes and so many friendly, smiling people thanking us for standing up to speak for them and their frustrations. We've shared laughs, we've shared jokes and smiles and the odd hug as well. But there have been those low moments when we went around talking to people because they feel taxed out of existence. They feel so ignored and frustrated, and they're worried about their children's future. They're tired of working for nothing. They're tired of struggling to make ends meet. They're tired of the immigration crisis, and they're worried their children will have to emigrate out of the country. They're worried because their children will never be able to afford a home and so many other things. But most of all, they feel voiceless and ignored. They're sick of the false promises and the failed policies from the existing establishment parties.
Well, you're going to see a big change in Europe this year. We're seeing it all across Europe and all across the world. And it's not a swing to the right. This is a mistake people are making. It's a swing back to the centre and common sense. And I want to be part of that swing. I want to make sure I'm there to represent you. And I want to be the real voice of Dublin and of Ireland. And on the 7th of June, I want you to come out and vote for me, Niall Boylan. Because together, we can be the real voice of Dublin in the European Parliament.
Right through to 1 o'clock today on the Niall Boylan podcast. Welcome along. Don't forget, by the way, at any stage, if you want, you can subscribe on the button up above there on Twitter. All you got to do is just click it, all right, to help support us do the show every single day between 12 and 1 o'clock. And we delve into some of the wonderful topics that are around, of course, today, as well as the more intriguing ones and the more serious ones. And today is something that I personally feel very, very serious about. Now, you may remember, or you might know the story, of course, that came out of the news yesterday, that the New Zealand Justice Minister has resigned from her position as Justice Minister and her job after she crashed a car and failed a breathalyser test. Kiri Allen is the Justice Minister in New Zealand. So it just goes to show nobody's above the law when it comes to drink driving. Here in Ireland, at the moment, the drink driving limit is 50 milligrams. That's units of alcohol, 50 milligrams of units of alcohol per 100 millilitres of blood. For professional learner drivers, or professional drivers, or learner drivers, or novice drivers, it is 20 milligrams. In other words, if you're a bus driver, a truck driver, if you're a learner driver, it's a little bit less. They're quite lenient when it comes to the punishment in this country. If you're on the lower level, of course, you'd only get a 3-month ban. That's if you're lucky, and you might get maybe a €200 or €300 fine. If you're on the upper level, and if you're over the 50 milligrams, or indeed you're double over the limit, twice over the limit, you can get a 2 to 3 year ban. And the most you'll ever get is a €500 fine. The only time you'll probably ever go to jail is if you're involved in a serious accident, where you take somebody's life, or you injure somebody quite seriously. That's the only time you're most likely going to go to jail. Is that enough? Let's be clear about this. We know drink driving is wrong. So why is it that I can walk around a city at any stage during the week, particularly at the weekends, and see car parks full of cars, people inside drinking and going home and taking a chance? When we know drink driving is wrong, when we know you'll get a fine, when you know you could be off the road for 2 years or 3 years, as the case may be, depending on the judge, when you know all of this, why do people still do it? Is it because the punishment isn't good enough? Well, there has been suggestions in the past that we bring in a punishment of a lifetime ban, that we also reduce the limit to 0. Now, I don't know if that's technically possible at all, because of course people might take a mouthwash that has a level of alcohol in it. You might be using perfume or aftershave. You might be using certain medications that have alcohol levels in them. So it might be difficult to reduce it to 0. I'll find that out in a few minutes. But in saying that, we all know that you shouldn't drink and drive. The drinking levels at this point, or should I say the amount allowable at this point, is not even 1 pint of beer, a small glass of wine. So is it really worth the risk? Are all those people across the country in pubs with their cars sitting outside, are they all drinking Coca-Cola? I don't think so. And then the problem we have at the moment is, and we've been looking over the last few days at crime in the city centre and the lack of Garda resources. And of course, as well, since we changed the car tax policy, whereby, for example, you can't go into a Garda station and get it stamped anymore. You can get away with not paying your tax, all that kind of carry on. That's all gone. So the Garda are not really doing checkpoints for tax anymore the way they used to, where they might spot the odd drink driver. So it's only for dedicated drink driving stops, and that usually happens around Christmas with Operation Lifesaver. So is that good enough? So the question we're asking today, and we want you to text or WhatsApp in on the number, it's 085 100 22 55. That's 085 100 22 55 is, should you get banned for life if you get caught drink driving? Some people believe you should get a second chance. I'm not too sure about that. One man who believes you definitely should not get a second chance is Leo Ligio. And Leo's daughter, Marcia, from Gladockin, died in 2005 when she was hit by a drink driver. And he joins me on the line. Leo, good evening to you, or good afternoon to you, should I say.
How you doing, Ryan?
Leo, it's nice to talk to you again. It's been a little while since we spoke the last time. Now, I know, of course, you're now a member of the Irish Road Victims Association. And it's been a long time, but time, that cliche, that time is a great healer, sometimes it doesn't work, particularly when you have a 16-year-old daughter who lost her life at the hands of a drink driver. And I don't want to keep bringing back the story, but I think it's important people hear it and the devastating effect it can have on people. I mean, if we go back to that evening in 2005 when you got the phone call, yourself and Teresa got the phone call, obviously you went into a panic immediately. Where was Marcia? Where was she going, or what was she doing that night?
She was at it. I actually found this at about only a few years back, when a friend of Marcia's sent me an email, and this girl was with Marcia that night, and she was that badly affected with it. She was only able to tell me only a few years back that they were at a 50th birthday party.
Yeah.
And she was on her way home.
Okay.
And they were crossing the road down Dunolly at a set of pedestrian traffic lights, and a car ploughed into her and knocked Marcia clean out her runners that heighted the traffic lights.
Okay. And you and Teresa got the phone call from the Garda Síochána, I assume, or?
No, I got a phone call from one of Marcia's friends.
Oh, okay.
First thing that came into my head was a joke. Somebody playing a prank on me, but
yeah.
No, she said it was serious and told me where it was, and I just screamed at Teresa, and we jumped into the car and I drove down. It was only 2 minutes down the road by car, but it seemed like ages driving down there.
I can imagine that. Imagine that journey. What it must have been like as a parent, knowing that your daughter was in serious trouble. It must have been an awful journey.
Yeah, it was a terrible journey. You don't think of it at the time. You think, it's okay, nothing serious. But
yeah.
She got there, she was unconscious on the stretcher.
Yeah. I mean, at the time, you're probably thinking broken leg, broken arm. Oh my God, I hope she's okay. That's kind of what the worst case scenario you're thinking. But unfortunately, when you got there, things were a lot more serious than that.
Yeah, she was lying there unconscious on the stretcher, and they're just about to put her into the ambulance, and they told us that they were bringing her to the Tala Hospital, and that's when it hit us really.
And she ended up in a coma for quite a while, and there was a point where they thought she would pull through, wasn't there?
Those first couple of days in Tala Hospital, yeah, we thought she was going to come through. The second day, I think it was, they took her out of. She was put into an induced coma because her brain was swollen.
Yeah.
And the day after they tried bringing her out of the coma, and she was kind of getting agitated, reaching for her head as if to try and pull out the wires or something like that there. Or maybe she was in pain. I don't know.
Yeah.
But then they put her back in again, and then they tried to take her out again, and I was holding her hand, and as you do when you say to your child, like, don't worry.
Yeah.
We're here. You're going to be okay.
I'm sorry. I know, Leo, this never leaves
you.
It
has to be out there. It has to be out there. People have to hear us.
Yeah, I know.
I felt her squeezing my hand, and I hope she heard me that time. But
did she respond to you at all? Did she respond at all to you, or could she talk?
No, she couldn't speak. Yeah. I just felt her squeezing my hand for that split second.
Yeah.
And that was the last contact, basically.
Yeah.
She made with us.
And sadly, she passed away then.
No, the couple of days.
Yeah.
Second day, she was moved out to Beaumont Hospital. She fought for a week now. She fought for a week. She fought hard for a week.
Yeah.
but it wasn't meant to be.
I'm really, really sorry, and I'm sorry to put you through that, Leo. And although I've put you through that, I think it's really important that people have a really good understanding of what it does, the devastation it does to families. And we've spoken to many families in the past, including yourself, who have gone through this devastation with young children, teenagers, or even brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers, and the devastation that a drunk driver can cause. Getting back to the accident.
They have to know. They
Yeah.
have to know.
Yeah. And it does. It can. I mean, it's destroyed your life. I know it has. Yours and Teresa's. And it's destroyed your family's life. And I know it was your other daughter's birthday on the day. Not that you'd even remember that. And it was something I know you mentioned before. You didn't even remember it was her birthday at the time because, of course, life just became a mess for you at that stage. Everything is just a blur.
Absolutely. And having to tell your 11-year-old and 9-year-old that their sister was gone as well.
Yeah. Their big sister. Yeah.
Absolutely gut-wrenching.
Yeah, I'm sure it's had a massive effect on them as well, on their lives too, because their big sister is not around anymore. And I know it's been very, very difficult for you. You obviously got involved in the campaign as well, but to get back to that the accident itself, when I say accident, I don't use the word accident when I'm talking about these things. Yeah, I mean, you don't accidentally drink. No, you don't accidentally drink and drive. You do it intentionally. The woman responsible for this, her name was Ciara McAlinden.
Yeah.
Okay, she had previous convictions, and she was already banned from driving.
Yeah, she was notorious drug addict and dealer up in Dundalk. The story that she was down in Dublin to purchase drugs.
Yeah. And so she was brought to court. Did they? I know she stopped initially at the scene, but then left the scene of the accident. So essentially, it was a hit and run as well.
It was a hit and run. Yeah.
So she left the scene of the accident. How did they find out who it was? Was there CCTV? Because that was a few years ago now, so there wouldn't have been as many cameras.
No, the guards said that they got a lot of. I don't know exactly how they got it, but they got a lot of cooperation from people, even people who said you wouldn't think would come forward. They got the information and caught her.
Right. Okay. And how long did it take to get her into court?
Oh, it was a couple of years.
Yeah.
It kept being adjourned, and like to this day, something fishy went on. I can't prove, but something fishy went on because we were told that she'd get 4 to 5 years, which is the norm. It's never more than that there for dangerous driving causing death.
Yeah.
But then it kept getting adjourned until she went up in trial in Dundalk in the district court in Dundalk, and she got 12 months for other crimes, theft and stuff like that there. So when it came to the court case in Dublin, she wasn't even charged for Marcy's death, Marcy's murder as I call it. She was charged for careless driving, no tax, no insurance, all that kind of stuff. Driving while banned. And the judge was throwing the book at her, giving her a maximum sentence for everything, and her barrister stood up and said because she was sentenced to 12 months in Dundalk, the maximum she can get in the district court in Dublin is another 12 months.
No.
And the judge apologised to me. He literally apologised to me. He says, and his hands were tied, and he gave her 2 months remission on top of that there as well. So she got was 10 months.
So she got 10 months in jail for the death of your daughter.
No, it wasn't even for the death of my daughter.
It was for careless driving, no tax, and no insurance. For motoring offences.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
And pardon my ignorance, but is there no way of taking that then to a circuit court or to appeal it to a circuit court for the leniency of that sentence or to a higher court? Is there no way of doing that?
I had none of the information that people have now, so we didn't know what to do, or we would just discuss it. And
I imagine.
Like the prison service and all that, they were good to us and said, look, she's going to serve every single day.
Yeah.
And I even got, I don't know if I told you, but I got an email from one of her friends a few months later asking me to put in a good word for her because she's trying to change her life around.
God, cheek for her.
And my brother-in-law found something on the internet as well that Ciara McAlinden, 2 weeks after she killed my daughter, she was up in Belfast and she nearly put another 18-year-old. She put another 18-year-old in hospital. She nearly killed another 18-year-old.
Oh no!
2 weeks after killing my daughter.
I don't know what to say to you, Leo, because if it was me and it was my daughter, I know how you feel. I could only imagine how you feel. But cheapers, I couldn't stop till I made sure this person never left a jail cell again. And
No,
I know that's the way you feel.
To be honest, I felt the same way you do. I said something happened to one of my children, but I tried to do everything the right way.
I know.
So people even came up to me, a couple of people came up to me and told me, look, if you want something done for a wife in prison, I can do it for you.
Yeah.
And
no, you wouldn't get involved in that.
I'm a Christian myself.
Yeah.
Not a Bible basher, but I do believe in God and I do believe in the afterlife. And I want to see my daughter again. And I wouldn't do anything like that there.
Did you, when you were in court, by the way, when she got the 10-month sentence for the driving offences under the Road Traffic Act offences, did you make eye contact with her? Did she look remorseful?
She almost sat beside me at one stage. And to this day, I regret I didn't give her a slap or something. The guys were more worried about what we'd do in the courthouse. She came into the same bench as me, and I just told her to get the F away from me. She didn't even realise who I was.
Did she even say she was sorry? Did she ever say she was sorry?
No. No, there was just lies after lies. Like there was supposed to be a male passenger in the car. Male passenger in the car, but he was never identified and they denied it.
I mean, because most people, if they were responsible for something like that, either accidentally or intentionally by drink driving, they couldn't live with themselves. They'd be racked with guilt. But it didn't seem to faze this woman at all.
Not as far as I know. Maybe later in life, before she's passed away now, I believe. But I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, getting back to, I suppose, your campaign now, of course, you're a member of the Irish Road Victims Association. And obviously you're talking and you talk to, the community of other people around the country who've been affected by drink driving. Firstly, a lot of people want to know, the main question is, and maybe I want to know it as well, is a lot of people say, why can't we just reduce it to zero? Why can't we just say it's illegal? That's the end of it. There's no levels. There's no limits. I'm assuming it's because, mouthwashes contain alcohol, medication can contain alcohol, and so can aftershaves and perfumes.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing myself. It's the only reason. But even apart from that, even 50 milligrams is enough. But people should not. It's the courts. The courts aren't giving us severe enough sentences. There's not enough data presence on the roads. You have all these laws. Like, we fought hard to get that drink driving legislation changed. Mm-hmm. And when you have certain TVs, and you know who I'm talking about, standing up in court saying standing up in the door saying it's okay to have one drink.
Yeah. Well, it's not good then we see politicians being found, but of course we had Barry Cowan going back a few years ago as well. And I think that was the last time I spoke to you, actually, when we talked about the Barry Cowan case. I mean, so it's not good when you're seeing politicians. I mean, this politician in New Zealand has kind of brought the story back up worldwide again, where she's the Minister for Justice and she was caught drink driving and crashed her car and has now had to resign. So the answer to this, I mean, I don't drink. My father was a very heavy drinker, and I can remember as a child being driven around with my father when he had 10 to 15 pints of beer on him. Now, in those days, things were very different, of course. The guards would stop you, just take the keys off you, and that'd be the end of it. That'd last you hear of it, But we're a lot more educated now. We know the effects of alcohol. Well, you'd think we are, wouldn't you?
You think we will be, yeah. Like when there's 700 people convicted every month of drink driving, 700 a month.
And they're the ones that are caught. Yeah.
Caught, exactly. So you can multiply that by 10 at least. That they're getting away with it because they know they accept the odds of them getting caught or slim to none. So they'll keep taking the chances until the court and the guards get serious. If you're caught drinking and driving, you'll confiscate the cars.
Yeah.
Take the cars off them.
Well, they do that in Australia, don't they? They take the cars off them and they sell them.
Exactly. What should be done.
Yeah,
take the cars off.
Mm-hmm. So I'm asking today, should we go one step further? Because I believe, a 3-year ban or a 3-month ban in some cases, depending on the level of alcohol, or if you're a professional or a novice driver, is not good enough. It really, I don't think it teaches people a lesson. I really don't.
No, and now, how many of those people that are banned will actually adhere to that ban? If they've got their car sitting in their front garden, they're going to drive again because they know the chance of getting caught are slim to none.
And even if they do get caught again, there's no consequences. They'll go to court, they get a slap in the hand from a judge and get another 3-year ban.
Exactly, yeah.
And
So
the fine they'll probably get is somewhere between 200 and 400 euro. The maximum fine, I think, is 500. So that's not going to affect anybody, really, is it? Really, well, most people.
No, it's not going to affect them. What the slightest?
And I was going to say, there's no possibility of you going to jail unless, of course, you're involved in a serious accident. But from what we've listened to your story today, I mean, 10 months for taking somebody's life.
Yeah. And the most anybody's ever been sentenced, I believe, is about 5 years in prison for a dangerous driver causing death. And that's another thing. I think it shouldn't be called dangerous driver. It should be called
murder.
Vehicular manslaughter. Vehicular manslaughter, even.
Well, I know. I would go as far as say murder, Leo, because when you get into that car with alcohol on you, you're well aware that you're capable of killing somebody.
Absolutely.
So it's intentional.
The facts and everything are out there, but you'll have people coming on your show now, texting you in and ringing you and said, I did the right thing and I was caught over the limit the following morning. The hell with it. Like, if you have alcohol in your system the next morning or the next second week, you still have alcohol in your system. You're over the limit. Mm-hmm. Get yourself a breath test and test your breath yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, professional drivers have to do that. You know, they have to do that regularly, professional drivers. Well, they're meant to.
I mean, no excuses whatsoever. The court shouldn't be accepting this stupid excuses. I need the car for my child is sick. I need to bring the child to the doctor. You should have thought of that before you get into your car. The judge shouldn't be accepting that.
No, I don't think there's any excuses. There's no excuses.
No.
There's always an alternative. And I mentioned at the very start, Leo, you know, particularly around Christmas time, but any weekend really, you go to most car park pubs and they're full. And
absolutely, yeah.
And they're not all in there drinking Coca-Cola. So
no.
I just don't get how we can blatantly break the law and people know the consequences, and not just the penalties and the consequences. I'm talking about the consequences of people dying and the consequence of people being maimed for life or you know, hurt really bad.
They don't think of that now. It shows like this here that it's helping across, but you'll see a headline in the paper, 2 people killed on a road today, and when the news is over, that's all forgotten about.
Yeah.
The majority just up here, just so the families and the people involved.
And see, what we only hear at the end of the year is that the amount of people that are killed, between 160 and 190 people on average every year are killed.
We're 6 up this year already on last year, and that last year was 14 up on the previous year.
But what we don't hear is the amount of people that are injured, the amount of people that end up in a wheelchair, the amount of people that end up paralysed from the neck down, they end up losing a limb or whatever. There's thousands of those.
You can actually multiply the figure by something like 9, I think it's 8 or 9 to get the number of seriously injured, life-affecting injuries.
Yeah. And it's not just the individual that, I mean, in your case, for example, and many other cases like yours as well, I can think of many cases just like yours, and we've spoken to many of the victims over the years. It's the damage that they do, what you've got, what Teresa's got, what your children have. It's a lifetime sentence.
You think of that Marcy's friend that only emailed me, sent me the text like 10 years after what happened, and she said in that email she says she remembers how she'll always remember.
Yeah.
And she'll always remember Marcy's laughing and the fun they had that day in the dancing.
Yeah.
And then just in the blink of an eye, it's all gone.
Yeah.
Just like that.
I mean, she had. I know. Marcia had told you she was 16, and she told you she had great plans for life. She wanted to be a midwife.
That's correct. Yeah. That was her.
And she at this stage in life, she could have been married with children and been a midwife, and all those dreams taken away.
Mm-hmm. Can I tell you a little story there now?
Yeah, sure.
It just happened recently. One of the kids Marcia used to babysit for was was her niece.
Yeah.
Our Uncle Paddy's daughter, called Tia. And she went to this, Marcia was mad into blue. She had a big crush on the guy, Simon.
Yeah.
Simon and Blue, I don't know if you know him.
Yeah.
And I believe they were playing in Dublin a few weeks back, and Tia went to the concert. And they got up to the front, and she sent Teresa a message, voicemail, and said, Teresa, I said, Marcia, show me your sign, please.
Mm.
And Simon, when he came out on stage, he pointed down at Tia. pointed down at the girl
Yeah.
and asked her for her sunglasses, asked her for her glasses and everything.
Oh.
Uh, Coincidence or what?
No, that's lovely, isn't it? That's a really lovely story. That maybe
There's
she's up.
lots of little things like that have happened.
Yeah, maybe she's up there making a difference, Leo. Huh?
Yeah,
You
I
know.
firmly believe that. I really
Yeah.
do believe that.
Yeah. But look, and that's a lovely thought. You know, and that's something that I suppose keeps you at peace to some degree. How are you, by the way, now?
I have my moments. I have the other kids and I have grandkids now to keep me
Keep you
me
occupied?
going.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you have those days on your
Yeah.
birthdays and celebrations when she's not there.
Yeah. And what's the next stage?
But you try not to show it.
What's the next stage of the campaign? I mean, obviously, going back 4 years ago, we got the legislation was changed to reduce the amount of alcohol that you could take.
Irva are mostly a support group. We'll campaign for changes in law. We believe it has to be there, but it's mostly support group for people that have gone through what we went through, and we try to support them and we give them free legal aid and free counselling. And all they have to do is get in contact with Irva, and we're there for them.
I remember
Do everything we can for them.
I've been doing this job for 25 years, 30 years. And I remember even going back right to the very start. I used to speak to a woman on a regular basis, similar to yourself. She had lost, I think it was her daughter or son. I can't remember now. Her name was Gertie.
Gertie, I remember the name, yeah.
Yeah, it was a long time ago now. And I don't know whether Gertie is still with us or not. But she was an older woman. But she campaigned for years and years and years. And in fairness, she did some great work because of her. The legislation did change. Because I can remember going back, probably 30 years ago, maybe the early 1970s, when the first advertisements for drink driving drink driving came in, and you're only allowed 6 pints. Do you remember those ads?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I mean, to think that we thought it was okay to let somebody have 6 pints of beer and drive a car, and then they reduced it, of course, to 3, and then down to 2, and now we're down. So for those who don't understand the law currently at the moment, think of it like this: you can't even have 1 pint. The law is roughly about 3/4 of a pint or a small glass of wine. And when I say that's the law, you shouldn't even do that.
No, you should have it in your head. Have a conscious think of other people. And,
Yeah.
like we campaign, and we campaign till we're blue in the face. The legislation is there, but if the enforcement isn't there, if the penalties aren't there, people are going to keep on doing it, and people are just going to keep on dying.
And what do you say to people who will come on the air today and say, well, look, it's wrong, of course it's wrong, but everyone deserves a second chance? So, the 3-year ban is good. At least it gives them time to reflect.
Well, like I said, for the bans, they will not work. There's only certain people who will adhere to the bans, but the ban will not work because they'll just get back into their cars and drive again, hope, and think they won't get caught. People that think they need a second chance. Would you say that if it's your child or your family member that's hit by a car, by a drunk driver? I guarantee you won't be saying that after that. They deserve a second chance.
Yeah.
You don't react to stuff like this. You have to prevent it. Reacting to it it's too late then. People are suffering, people are dying. Don't react, prevent it.
So your answer is, and I would agree with you, do what they do in Australia, take the car off them, sell it, give them money, sell it and give it to a support group, charity or something like that, and ban them for life.
Ban them for life, yeah.
Leo, I'd like to say it's been wonderful talking to you, but every time I'm reminded of your story, it saddens me so much. But we're all thinking of Marcia, and I'm sure you are thinking of her especially today. And I'm sorry if I've upset you, by the way, bringing all that back. But
no, like I've gone to schools with the Axel Road Safe Road Show, and I've spoken to thousands of young people in transition years. I've told Marcia's story, and they've all reacted. They've all come up to me afterwards.
Yeah.
And promised me they wouldn't drink and drive, but
hopefully they listen to you. Yeah.
Like I say in the talk, if I can get through to one of them.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Even if one person listening today thinks of Marcia before they go in for that drink tonight or tomorrow night or whenever it happens to be, that's one person safer on the road.
Absolutely.
Leo, listen, thank you very much indeed, and I wish you well, all right? You and Teresa and your family, all right? Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Leo.
There you go. Leo, Ligio, and Leo's daughter, 16 years of age, Marcia, was taken away from us at 16 years of age back in 2005. All right, I want to take your calls. The number, as usual, is 085 100 22 55. That's 085 100 22 55. Some of the messages coming in on Facebook already. My heart is breaking for that poor man. Such a sad and tragic story and an end to a beautiful life. Sarah says, hugs Leo and family, very strong family. Lorna says, technically, if I have a glass of wine with dinner, then I'm over the limit. So do I deserve to never drive again for my whole life for a glass of wine with dinner? Well, it depends on the size of the glass of wine you're drinking. The law allows for a small glass of wine. No, those kind of flute glasses, I think, isn't it? Those, whatever they call those bloody glasses, wine glasses, small wine glasses. So if you have anything more than that, well, I suppose realistically, you don't deserve to drive again because you know you're drink driving, don't you? Do you know what I mean? Like if you think that this is a big glass of wine, if I'm breathalyzed now, I could, be off the road. Well, what are you doing it for? Because then you're well aware of it. Anyway, Keane says, no, we should go to a graduated system where the penalty you get is directly related to where you are related to the limit. So what? The amount of alcohol dictates how many years you get banned. Come on out of that, for God's sake. The number is 085 100 22 55. That's 085 100 22 55 if you want to WhatsApp or text us. Norman, hi, how are you?
Hello, Niall. How are you doing? I'm just putting on my washing machine. So,
right.
There we go. Grant.
No, very difficult to listen to that man's story and his 16-year-old daughter who was sadly taken away from us because of a drink driver who got 10 months in jail, Norman. 10 months.
Yeah. Okay. I think anybody who is, I think they're focusing on one aspect of driving that's wrong. But I think the mindset here in Ireland is completely wrong. Why should a person get into a car and drive and they haven't passed the test? That's just ludicrous. I think we're missing the point totally. We're missing the point totally. I don't use that car that much. I mostly cycle. And the behaviour of motorists on the road, they're not drunk, but they might as well be drunk, the way they're behaving. It's absolutely...
No, I agree with you. We need to go to something like the Canadian system whereby most kids coming out of secondary school, high school as they call it in Canada, already have a driver's license. In other words, they've learned to drive in school. They get 22 hours or whatever it is lessons while they're in 5th and 6th year. I think that's what we need to do. Absolutely. We need to educate children very young on how to drive a car. Yeah.
And we need to do it properly. I got my license in Holland and I failed it the first test. Do you know where I failed it? On what I failed the first test? This is now nearly 40 years ago. I failed it on the motorway.
Yeah.
Has anybody in Ireland failed a test on the motorway?
No.
Nobody's
taken out on the motorway. They're never taken out. No.
Exactly. Crazy stuff. Last night I was at an event in Richmond Barracks called the Middle of the Field. Fantastic thing if anyone gets a chance to see it. And I had to drive there because public transport is desperate. So otherwise I'd go on my bike anywhere. I would go on my bike, but I was taking my partner with me, so she can't go on the bike. But the way people drive, they just pull out without even checking the mirrors. No indicating, nothing. They don't even know basics. So what are you talking about drinking and driving? I think we're missing the total point. 90% of people out there on the roads are fairly clueless. Yeah, I was down in Terny yesterday picking up a device, a big chair, and the people just go through the red lights. Down by the KCR, they just...
I'm not disagreeing with anything you're saying, no. And I agree with everything. But add to that the intentional recklessness of going out and having alcohol, which of course we know reduces your concentration and reaction times.
Yeah.
And then you've got a recipe for disaster, haven't you?
Not really. It depends on how that person is, what their driving experience is.
Okay, well let me ask you a question. I've good driving experience. Thankfully, I've only had one accident in the 40 years I'm driving, right? And that was my fault because I drove into a ditch. I was driving too fast. I was too young and stupid. Okay, so apart from that, I haven't had an accident since. Right. So here's the thing.
Banned for doing that.
Yeah, but hold on.
You should be banned. Okay.
No, hold on. So let's say I go out tonight and I decide it's my birthday. I'm going to have a few glasses of vodka and I'm going to enjoy myself. And I get into my car and I drive. Now I feel okay. I'm a bit, but I feel all right.
bit tipsy, yeah.
Yeah,
Whatever.
okay. Well, I'm okay.
Yeah.
You know, I'm all right.
Yeah, yeah,
And I drive home. If I'm
Right,
caught,
you hit somebody.
well, no, forget about even hitting somebody.
Oh, okay,
Let's
you're
say,
caught, yeah.
let's say I'm just stopped
You're
by the
breathalyzed.
guards and I'm breathalyzed
Right.
and I'm twice over the limit. What should happen to me?
Yeah. What should happen to you?
Yeah.
I think it should be investigated. Is that a regular occurrence or was it a one-off occurrence?
Let's say it's a one-off. I've never been caught before.
Yeah. Well, I think you should be, I wouldn't say re-educated, but you should be made alert to... it's the same thing. I had that before. I cycle a lot to work, but I used to take the car all the time. But I remember one time I was actually very tired. And another time I had a cold. And I actually stopped the car and drove home. Or left the car because the cold had so much an effect on me. It was affecting me.
But hang on.
Thinking.
But that's I know. I understand the point you're making, but that's not intentional. To go in and drink alcohol is an intentional thing to do. You know it's wrong. You know it's illegal. You know it affects your driving, but you still go in.
No, people don't. People do loads of things, and they're not aware.
Okay, so should they be banned from driving?
I don't think. No, absolutely not. No.
Were you listening to Leo, who was on for the last 20 minutes before you? I don't think you'd caught his call. The man cried on the air talking to me, and to this day, in 2005, his 16-year-old daughter was killed by a drink driver.
I do. Yeah. And how many times have I been knocked off a bike by a person?
I'm not talking about you. I'm just saying no.
We weren't killed. No. There was a woman and her daughter was killed recently, last year, by a learner driver who was driving unaccompanied. That person had been drinking.
Well, it was more. It wasn't last year. It was about 3 years ago. Yeah.
You're missing the point. We're talking about drink.
Oh, well, hang on. Let me just bring in John on this as well. Sorry, John. Go ahead. You want to say something?
Well, he's missing the point. I mean, because we're
I'm not missing the point. No. You're concentrating on the wrong thing.
No,
you're not concentrating on.
No.
When you get into a car, you should be able to drive. 80% of people.
But everybody agrees. No, but everybody agrees. But everybody agrees with what you're saying.
But everybody is doing it. Everybody is doing it.
Yeah, but okay. But this is another fact. But hang on. You're right. You're right. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm agreeing with everything. Hang on. No, when you're missing the point. I'm agreeing with everything you're saying.
My neighbour is a lovely person, but she came down the lane the other day at a speed like.
You're not getting it.
Hello?
Norman. Yeah, Norman, are you still there?
No. I am, yeah. But she drove at a speed that was ridiculous. Anybody could have stopped out and she would have knocked them over.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about drinking driving.
This is exactly, yes. You're talking about something.
We're talking about drinking driving. What part of that don't you understand?
The part of it I don't understand is why you're concentrating on a small aspect of something that's far bigger.
It's not a small aspect. Look, there are people...
Yesterday I came...
Are you going to let somebody else speak, or are you just have to fall in love with your own voice, or what?
I'm talking about... I went to a green light.
You've been talking quite a while now. Maybe if you listen, you might actually
I'm probably the only one that calls, because have you had 30 lessons? Do you drive?
Right.
Do you drive?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
How many theory lessons have you had? 0.
How many what?
Theory lessons.
Yeah.
You wouldn't.
I've been driving for donkeys years, for God's sake. I don't need any theory lessons.
Yeah, exactly. You do need theory lessons. In Denmark, you go to a classroom, you sit in the classroom, and you're taught about what the correct mindset.
And you're also taught not to drink and drive.
It's obviously
Hang on. Let John finish what he wants to say first.
Jesus Christ! I mean, where did this guy come from? The aliens must have landed.
I did a lesson. My second lesson. I'll tell you. My second lesson. Right, the light was green. Right, I was in the car. And
we're not talking about drinking, driving. What part
no. But hang on. The driving instructor stopped the car in the middle of the junction, and he said, "What did you do wrong?"
Norman. But what are you... Norman, you're talking about safe driving. You're talking about careless driving. We all agree with you. People should be better drivers. But we're talking about something that's intentional, which impairs your driving ability, which is taking alcohol. Right now, sorry, hang on, Norman. Just let John speak for a second. John.
Yeah, no, look, let's be honest.
Okay, the question I originally asked, by the way, is should the penalty be a ban for life?
100%. 100%. And there goes... If you lose your license and you need the car, obviously, for work, right? There goes your job. there goes the mortgage payment, there goes your family out on the side of the street. Maybe then, and only then, it might concentrate people's mind, because unfortunately, which we've dealt with many times in the programme, the Gardaí are very sparse on the ground at the moment. People know that, and especially in rural areas. And the drinking and driving, the drug driving, the whole lot, it's going on wholesale because the chances are you won't be caught. Now, obviously, this caller that's on the line, he doesn't seem to have any ounce of compassion for the man that was on force that lost his daughter, right? No, you're talking to a guy at the end of the phone myself, who I previously admitted to you, I went through a Garda checkpoint. Now, that was well over 35 years ago, right? Another time I was down in Kilworth. I came out of Kilworth. Had a good few points to me. I stopped off in Fermoy, saw the guards parked on the bridge, went into a night up, had another 3 points out. And to this day now, I cannot remember leaving Fermoy, going through Rathcormac, going through Watergrass Hill, going through Glenmoire, going through my own Cork City. I just woke up inside my own garden. Now, if the guards had came to the door the next day and said, you weren't involved in an accident last night, there's a person dead, I wouldn't have remembered anything. I would have to believe what they told me, right? And it's actually not that put me off. It's the fact that when I went through the checkpoint, and the guards chased me down the road, and the guard actually let me go on the night. That freaked me out more than the fact that I couldn't remember getting home. So never again would I touch it. And anyone that takes a drink and alcohol and gets in deliberately behind the wheel of a car, you should get a lifetime ban. End of story.
It's a fair point, Norman.
I'm sorry, that all this emotional thing is all great, but you have to be...
It's all great. I think you're kind of minimising the impact it has on people's lives. Drink drivers, as well as bad drivers, which I've agreed with you on already. Everybody's agreed with that. But drink drivers have left paths of devastation behind them.
Yeah, as have learner drivers who haven't...
Of course they have, and we're not talking about that today. We can talk about that another day, Norman.
That's a different topic.
It's not a different topic. It's about driving. No, you're missing the point.
We're talking about drinking and driving. What part of that
you're talking about
drinking and driving. Just repeat it.
If you listen
Repeat after me. Drink and drive, you do not do. Drink and drive, you do not do. That's all you've got to say.
Drive without passing a test, you do not do.
Okay, answer a simple question, Norman, right, for me. Forget about everything else just at the moment. If I take a drink and get caught driving a car while I'm drunk, should I be banned for life? If
you do, then you should ban anybody who has caused an accident.
I'm not asking that question. It's a simple question. It's just all it requires is a yes/no answer. Should I be banned?
Well then, sorry.
No.
Simple,
should I get a ban for 2 years?
I'm not going to. It's ridiculous to ban a person because they did one type of maneuver. It is ridiculous because.
And what happens if I take somebody's life while I'm driving and I'm drunk? Do I deserve to go to jail? Or is that just an accident?
If you're through carelessness or negligence, and the cause of that negligence, be it drinking or not taking enough lessons or knowing the rules of the road or having the right mindset, which I say 80% of people... I'm on a small little road here, and the way the cars drive here is just unbelievable.
Okay, well, stay there for a second because I want to stay there, John, too. I want to go to Joe. No. Joe, well, hang on, John.
We're doing nothing about it.
Well, hang on, both of you. Well, hang on. Joe, how are you doing?
Good afternoon, Niall. How are you doing?
I let those two argue amongst themselves there for a second. Stay there, please, John and Norman. Yeah,
it's like Starsky and Hutch, really, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah. I'm hedging on John's side here, to be honest with you. But however, do you believe that people should be banned for life?
I do, of course. I second what John says there. Yeah, of course they should be banned for life. Like, this is a major crime. Like, this is a menace of society. And it's not just drink is the problem; it's drugs as well.
Drugs is a huge problem.
That's taking drugs and driving under the influence of drugs.
And something that we rarely ever talk about, by the way, is prescription drugs.
Oh yeah,
exactly. Yeah, for sure. You see it here in the city here. I'm living in Cork here, like, and where same as John is, and you see the amount of antisocial behaviour with drink driving, people jumping lights, speeding, like you sort of were like on the Formula 1 circuit the way they were carrying on.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're probably in their 70s or 60s.
No, they're not. They're not. They're all in
the ones I know here are asleep at the wheel or something because they're not looking in the mirror. They're not checking. You have to. When you pull up from the side of a road, if you stopped in your car, you have to check your mirrors and look over your shoulder before you pull out, and you have to indicate. You know that?
Well, I don't know
You know when you're changing lanes. You know when you're changing lanes, you have to indicate.
We know
I
that.
had
Yeah, well, I
there
don't
was 6 cars yesterday and another 5 last night. Not one of them indicated.
I mean, Norman, you're saying everything that people are agreeing with, right? You have a kind of obsession with the whole road safety thing, and I understand that. But we are focusing on one aspect of it today. We can focus on. Oh, well, hang on. We can focus on the other aspects another day, about the learner drivers, about the bad driving, about the careless driving, about not using your indicators. All those are the things that do cause accidents. But today we're focusing on drink driving, which is something that you intentionally do. You intentionally go into a pub. You intentionally scull a pint. You intentionally get back in your car and turn the key of the ignition. They're intentional things. Having a cold, as you said earlier on, which may impair your driving, by the way, having a flu or something like that, that's not intentional.
Or
You've no control over that. Yeah. I'm glad you're finding it humorous, by the way. Can I just point out, we just had a man on the air for 20 minutes telling about how his daughter was killed in an accident.
What about all those people who were killed by careless and reckless drivers who never learned to drive?
You have an obsession.
Are they less value?
No, they're not of less value. Anybody who's killed by a careless or reckless driver, that careless or reckless driver equally should go to jail.
Jesus, we're all in agreement with that about the standard driving out there of scrap. We're all on the line today, agree with it there. But what we're concentrating on is to know,
you'll do nothing about it. You yourself will go in.
Should you get a lifetime ban if you're caught over the limit?
He said no.
I believe
he said
so.
no. Yeah, he said no. Well, let me go to Mark as well. Mark, how are you doing? You're on the Niall Bowling podcast. Hey, Mark.
Hi, good afternoon. Good, how are you?
How you doing, Mark? Very frustrated, actually. Now you ask.
I'm very frustrated at the gentleman on the phone as well. There should be a straight ban. If you're caught over the limit, there should be a straight ban. No questions asked.
Mm-hmm.
How many lives are destroyed or lost with the drink driving? And like, the drink driving thing has been going on for years, and people are they're not learning their lessons, like, you know?
No.
So like,
why do you think people do it, Mark? Why do you think people go into pubs, take a drink and drive, even though we constantly talk about the dangers of drink driving?
There's a few for me. There's a few reasons.
Oh, I've lost you there. Sorry, have I lost you? You're gone. Oh, I lost everybody at the one time. Sorry, you're back again.
The reason is people are selfish and don't care. No?
Well, I've lost Mark there. I do apologise. Yeah, the reason is, people are selfish. Norman, there you go. You're right again. To go into a pub and scull back a few glasses of wine, I don't know, a few shorts or pints of beers, you're 100% right. They're selfish. Yeah. It's a selfish thing.
They don't care about anybody. They don't care about anybody else.
John, we're actually all agreeing with him now. There you go.
Well, therefore, but look.
Well, then go to jail then. I'll put you in jail.
It is a selfish act, obviously, but there should be a price to be paid for taking that selfish act, which is putting yourself in a vehicle where you could actually cause multiple fatalities, right, including yourself, you know.
Well, let me go back to Mark. Sorry, I have him back there. Sorry, Mark. Sorry about that. So, Mark, so there should be a ban for life, you agree?
Absolutely. And you were asking me what are the reasons. For me, there's a few reasons. There's just people being ignorant. And like not having a care. Oh, sure, I'll be grand. Like that old attitude, like, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I've only had a few. Like that's grand.
I'll be fine. So
yeah. That's one. But then there's the other side of it, and this could be a debate for another day. It's the public transport, like, you know, like if there was a readily available transport, if there's readily available taxis, whatever it is, like I feel personally like there'd be less people out about like drinking and driving, like, you know, like.
Oh, you're talking about rural Ireland, particularly, yeah.
Yes, exactly. And I know that can be very difficult and whatnot, but like, if there was that bit more access to.
Yeah, I know to provide public transport in parts of the country where there isn't normally public transport. But the problem the government will tell you, and I know the Healy Rays have been on about this on numerous occasions, but the problem is it's not logistically possible or financially possible to provide public transport from, you know, Mick's farm down to the local pub or village in the middle of nowhere in Ireland. It just isn't possible.
Do you know what? I completely agree with that. But I really feel that if you don't find a solution to that, there's going to be, unfortunately, more cases like this, like where...
Because you believe Mick from the farm will still drive his car with a few jars on him, yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But look, I'm not really focused on Mick, who drives 5 miles to the village from his farm on a back road in the Berreen in the middle of nowhere, because he's probably never going to cause an accident. What I am focused on is people who are in cities who have an alternative of public transport, or a taxi for that matter, who don't bother their arse, who think, sure, it's only a few pints.
They should be banned for the rest of their life. Like that's
okay.
The ignorance in that, the
selfishness.
The selfishness in it. It's just it is my
like
the amount of lives I say all of us know someone who's died in a
road traffic accident. Yeah.
You know, like, so it's just okay. I'm completely for.
All right. Listen, thank you for that, Mark. You can take Mark there if you want. Let me go to Stephen. Stephen, hi. How are you? You've been listening to Norman and John. I don't know whether you were listening to them before you come on there. Norman doesn't believe you should be banned from driving. Re-education is the key here. Stephen, do you believe that people who are caught drink driving should be banned?
I think, I could be wrong. I actually didn't bother looking it up. But I think there is already like a limited ban on somebody that is convicted of any kind of driving offence.
2 years. Yeah.
I think that's a reasonable thing. You could probably up it to 5, but a lifetime ban is just going to, have me or somebody else, if we're convicted of drink driving or driving under the influence of drugs or anything like that, still out driving and waiting to get caught by a Garda. I don't think a lifetime ban is the way to go. I do agree with re-education, and I was saying it to your researcher. Like, I don't know how long you've been driving for, but my dad has 40 odd years of driving under his belt.
40 years. Yeah.
And even he says, in his time on the road, like, the roads have changed entirely. We've roundabouts and new rules and things like that all over the shop, and he follows it as best he can, basically.
Yeah.
But I think retesting people every 10 years or so on limited aspects of rules of the road and so on is a good way to go. And I know I'm waiting on my
the logistics of that. It's hard enough to get one test going, really, isn't it? Without
I know, yeah.
doing it every 10 years. And by the way, you are right. I did a driving test going back 3 years ago for the fun. We had the National Testing Authority on the air. We were talking to them on the radio, and myself and my producer were put a challenge up that we would both do the test to see would we pass it. Now, I have a full driver's license. I failed it. Now, I'm going to make an excuse and say the reason I failed it is because I was in a car with a gear stick, which I haven't driven in years. I drive automatics now, and I stalled the car in the middle of a junction. Apart from that, I was okay. My producer, she mounted the footpath. So in saying that, we both failed the test miserably, even though we both had full licenses. But that'll always be the way. You're only good on the day of the test. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's like the NCT.
That is it. I only have to do it right once to get the pink piece of plastic, and then I can go off and do whatever the hell I like.
Yeah. But in saying that, we were talking, earlier on to Leo, and Leo's daughter was killed at 16 years of age by a drunk driver who got 10 months jail sentence. And by the way, when she killed her in the accident, well, he wouldn't call it an accident, he calls it murder. When she killed her and she hit her in the car, she was already on a driving ban. She already had no insurance, no tax, no license. So she had numerous convictions, but only got 10 months in jail for what she did. Leo has to live with it for the rest of his life. His daughter is gone. And he believes, similar to Australia, the car, if you're caught drink driving, the car should be taken off you, sold, the money given to a charity, and you should be banned for life.
It is. It's a fucking tragedy. It massively is. Like, it's a disgraceful thing that woman felt so entitled that she could just, do whatever she likes. But I'd safely say her and about 100,000 people on the roads are doing the same thing right this very minute.
But then why do we care and say let's give them a second chance and only give them a 2-year ban and let them drive again in 2 years? Why do we care?
Well, I think the only way to make it justified to do any kind of a ban and things like that is to try and get them into a program to educate them on the risks and the realities, and to actually do a bit of a restorative justice type thing where that woman has to sit down to that girl's father and try and explain herself while also listening to everything that woman has put her father and her family, the daughter's family, through for the last however many years. I think all of that, it really hammers home the idea that you are driving behind the wheel of a lethal weapon if you are not in full control of it and in full control of yourself.
I mean, we all know that you're not supposed to point a gun at somebody because that's illegal, right? You're not supposed to threaten a person's life. Yet, I see people all the time who'll go into a pub with their car in the car park, drink a few glasses of whiskey or a few pints of beer, whatever it is, get back in the car, turn the key and drive home and think, sure, I'll be grand. That's exactly the same thing. You know it's illegal, but yet you'll still do it. So John, who's on the other line there, his point is, you know what you're doing is wrong. You know you're taking a huge risk. You know you're putting other people's lives in danger. Why not a lifetime ban? It's not like you need a second chance. You know it's illegal.
No, and it is a fair point. I don't see how it's practicable to have a lifetime ban. You know, if it isn't already practicable that we can't enforce somebody who's had multiple convictions and is already driving without a license and insurance.
Well, we need to take the law more seriously, right? The problem that we have in this country,
absolutely,
we don't take the law seriously enough. So somebody is on a ban and they get caught again by the guards. They go to jail and the judge slaps them on the hand and gives them a 300 quid fine. If you've a lifetime ban and you get caught driving, you should go to jail.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
That should be simple.
Sorry, I think one of the other callers wants to get in.
Yeah, sorry. Well, sorry, John, you want to say something there?
Yeah, well, you see, it's amazing now because the people that are usually in favour of just extending out the driving ban maybe to 5 years, 10 years, or whatever, right, are not the people that one of their family members had been killed, like that poor man that was on at the start and his lovely daughter, right? So it's very easy to say it, but like if there was a vote in the morning, we'll say, should there be a lifetime ban? And if you asked only the people that have lost loved ones, mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, sons, daughters, through drunken driving, should there be a lifetime ban? I know where the vote would go.
They'd all say yes, of course they would.
Yeah.
Of course they would.
Yeah. I mean, I still remind everybody that when I was a child, I remember my father, as I said, would drink 15 pints of beer and drive the car with us in it. All three of us in the back. I was only about 10 or 11 years of age. I can still remember that. Now, don't get me wrong, different times, I get it. Yeah. But he was hammered, pissed driving the car. Now, I'll put that down to ignorance, lack of education. But we're not at that stage now in society. This is 2023. We're well aware that, even one beer, I remember watching a documentary, and one bottle of Budweiser this guy had, they checked his reaction times. Even one bottle of beer can affect your reaction times.
It's something like being sleep deprived or something like that. It's a similar effect. And considering the human reaction time is about 2.5 seconds anyway, it is. So I still don't think a lifetime ban is the way to go, but I do think we need to enforce the rules that we bloody well have and be way stricter with it. But if you're going to do that, then you probably need, more mass surveillance on every road, way many more Gardaí, and, let's face it, probably another 2 or 3 courts across the country. So
I'm looking at what you were talking about earlier on when you were talking about recidivism. And the annual rate is 24.3% per 1,000 among first offenders. So maybe we shouldn't be taking that too lightly either. It's not a bad suggestion. And let me just stay there, lads. Let me just go to Pauline as well. Pauline, how are you doing?
Hi, Niall. How are you?
Good. Nice to talk to you, Pauline. Welcome along to the podcast. Pauline, do you believe that people who are caught drink driving, should they be banned for life?
No, absolutely not.
No. Why?
If you tell somebody, absolutely. Because I don't think it's the root of the problem is lack of knowledge, obviously, and lack of probably observance of what's actually going on when there are accidents that people are involved with having drank and whatever.
Lack of knowledge? Are you for real?
Well, they get their tests because they have a car, but they should be taught in school how to drive before they leave.
We went down this road with Norman. I agree with you, Pauline. Everybody should have a better education when it comes to driving a car. We're talking about something that's intentionally done to reduce or impair your ability to drive a car, which is to take alcohol.
Yeah. Well,
it's like saying, is it all right to drive with your foot on the steering wheel? Of course not, because it impairs your ability to drive the car. So is it okay? Yeah. Is it okay to drink and drive?
No, absolutely
not. Okay, so if you know it's not okay and you know it's illegal,
it's taught in school. It should be taught.
That's fine. Okay, let's teach them in school. That's great. Okay, and I agree with you. Right, we should be teaching kids, like in Canada, they should be coming out of school, secondary school, with a driver's license in their hand. Right, absolutely, and they should be educated. But leaving that aside, and I agree with that. Do you believe that a person, after they get their education, after they come out of school with their live driver's license in hand, if they go out and drink 10 pints of beer and jump into a car and drive, should they lose their license for life?
Not if they don't kill somebody. I think they should
Not
be
if they don't
severely
kill
warned.
somebody.
If they kill somebody, absolutely, regardless of
the potential is there to kill somebody. And if they never kill somebody, go up to the rehabilitation centre in Dunleera and see the results of the people and the multiple injuries they have for the rest of their life.
Half the country are driving around on prescription drugs, which have the exact same.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Yeah.
That's another thing. And I know people in the city, right? And if their insurance company knew what the prescribed medication that they were taking, they would never cover them.
Oh, I know. As I said, that's another show, and I will cover that again. The amount of people in this country driving on prescription medication that shouldn't be driving on prescription medication is bonkers. Some of it is actually worse than alcohol, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And also drug driving is a huge problem too, particularly amongst the younger generation. Yeah. People driving on, out of their head on cocaine or, smoking hash or whatever, or weed or whatever they call it nowadays. They all should be banned if they're caught doing it. But okay, but Pauline, I'm curious, just very quickly, because I don't have much time. So, Pauline, I'm curious, why do you think they shouldn't be banned for life? Why not?
Well, I think a person could get into their car in the morning having been at a wedding or something the night before and think that they are sober. And if they were pulled in, they would not be sober, where it wasn't intentional. And I do think if a person hasn't caused any catastrophe, that they should be severely warned and threatened that perhaps within the next year, if the same thing occurred, they would take the license off them. These things happen.
I'm curious, actually, on that note, just very quickly, if I go back to Stephen. Stephen, this argument every single Christmas comes up. The guards shouldn't be targeting people the next morning who did the right thing the night before. You know what I mean? Do you buy that argument? Do you feel kind of sorry for those people who get caught going to work the next morning after a night out the night before?
Well, by the right thing, I suppose. Well, so I was questioning them what you meant by the right thing, but you mean, drinking responsibly and
getting a taxi, doing all that,
reasonable hour, doing what they should be doing after having taken in a load of alcohol and whatever else they're having. If they're behind the wheel of the car, they could have stayed sober but gotten home at like 5 o'clock in the morning and then up at 7 to go to work. Yeah, that's 2 hours of sleep. You know. Arguably, they're still impaired driving, even if they are sober. They
say, by the way, it's an hour's sleep for every unit of alcohol. That's what you're meant to do, at least.
Really?
Yeah, an hour's sleep for every unit.
Oh, no, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So if you have 5 pints, you're supposed to get at least 5 hours sleep in between the time you hop back into your car again. At least.
But men and women are different anyway now.
Well, they are. I know it depends on everyone's metabolism, but that's the kind of the rule.
Well. Yeah, they could be on prescription medication as well.
It is an interesting one. I do think that I do think a lifetime ban is impractical. I think if you're caught on any road in the country and you're under the influence, you lose the car there and then. You have to go and then pick it up from a depot somewhere. You can't have it for a week or whatever it is. But a lifetime ban is an impractical thing.
What about what they do in Australia, which I think is great, by the way, which is if you're driving a car, no matter how good or how bad the car is, it could be top of the range BMW. If you get caught drink driving, they take the car off you and they sell it.
I don't know how that works.
It might be the big end of the thin wedge, but we might get there eventually. But
wouldn't be nice if you were driving a Ferrari, would it?
No, it wouldn't.
Well, you should have thought that before you drove. Let me just go very quickly, if I can, just do one more. Sarah, hi.
Good.
Sarah. Hi, Niall.
How you doing?
Niall, I was just listening to you there, right? Now, I'm not getting into a big mad thing about it, but you're saying there, you're going by a pub and you see cars and loads of cars, and that they're not just in there having a lemonade. Yeah. Now, I'm not going to put the responsibility on the barman, but could you not bring out some initiative, in the country that, either if you're coming in here to have a drinking session, don't bring your car. Could you not implement that into the pubs?
Do you think the pubs are never going to do that? The pubs don't care. They don't have to care. It's not their responsibility.
In fairness, no, but it is their responsibility serving alcohol, Niall.
Well, no, it's not.
You know what I mean? And it can. I'm talking about a positive end of it. Don't turn this into a negative thing.
No, I'm not. And I agree with you. I do agree it's a good incentive. But the pubs are never going to do it. Because I can tell you, here's something for you, right? If we go back in time, or even now, actually, if the guards set up a checkpoint outside a pub car park, the pubs would go mad saying the guards are targeting their business, right?
Well,
but that's the wrong attitude to have, because people shouldn't be driving anyway. There is no pub in the country that's going to do that. But they're not going to do
No,
it.
you can easily say that every weekend. Like,
Yeah.
if I'm working a bank holiday weekend, now I don't drink alcohol, right? And I'd go into work and there'd be some nurses, some carers, whoever, you still get the smell of alcohol off them. And there still just be checkpoints. Like, that's
Right.
always going to be out there and that's always going to happen. But I'm talking
Right.
about something like to prevent them. You know what I mean?
Sorry, John, you're trying to say
What's
something,
happening?
Sarah. Sorry, John, go ahead.
Yeah, look, we finish on this. The true story, way up in the west of Ireland in a very rural pub, right? Many years ago, there was a new guard came onto the scene and he went around and he came into this pub and there was he's no longer alive, no, a government minister at the time, right? Belonged to a certain party. And he started taking names. The government minister came over to the guard and he said, would you like a point guard or would you like a transfer? And the guard chose the point.
A lot of that still goes on, by the way, in small towns across Ireland. I'm sorry, I'm really stuck for time, everybody. Pauline, Sarah, sorry for cutting you a little bit short there. John and Stephen, I really appreciate you all coming on the air, and I appreciate all of your opinions, no matter whether I agree with them or not. All right, thank you to everybody who got involved in the podcast today. Don't forget, by the way, you can catch us again tomorrow at the same time at 12 o'clock. And if you want to download this podcast, it'll be available in about an hour's time online on the niallboylan.com website, or indeed you can go to Spotify or all your usual platforms where you will normally get it. If you want to watch it, by the way, you have to go to our website, niallboylan.com, or subscribe on Twitter. See the subscription button there. Well, oh yeah, it's not called Twitter anymore, by the way. We now have to refer to it as X, which is probably the worst rebranding I've ever heard in my life. It's almost as bad as TV3 when they rebranded to Virgin Media. Does anyone actually call it Virgin Media, or do you all still call it TV3? TV3, isn't it, really? Anyway, click the subscription button. It costs you $5 a month. It's the price of a pint of beer. It's kind of thanking me and my staff, all three of us, for putting on a good show every single day. We do this every day. It's free of charge. We don't charge you to watch it. You can watch it live on Twitter and on Facebook every single day between 12 and 1 o'clock, or sometimes 1:30, depending on how mad we feel. Anyway, I'll be back again with you tomorrow at 12. Until then, have a great day.
The multi-award-winning Niall Boylan Podcast. Listen live on Facebook, YouTube, and all the usual live stream services. To get in touch, just WhatsApp or text 085 100 2255. The Niall Boylan Podcast. They told me to shut up. Available for download from all your usual platforms.